still under oath from the last time you testified. So we're not going to swear you again, but you're still under oath.
Okay.
Good morning, Detective Sabata.
Good morning.
Detective, I want to go back to photos you took from the scene when you arrived June 25th, 2022.
Okay.
You mentioned in your testimony that you photographed a vehicle.
That's correct.
I want to focus on the vehicle that was in the alleyway. What kind of vehicle was that?
It's a silver SUV.
And did that vehicle have blood on it?
Yes, it did.
And did you also review photo vehicle was in? Judge, I now move into evidence based on stipulation by the parties, what has been previously marked as 1T and 1V. 1U, sorry, Judge.
Yes.
Say Exhibit 1T, marker identification now becomes Say Exhibit 17, and 1U, marker identification now becomes Say Exhibit 18.
Permission to publish, Judge. Now, Detective, where is it that you photographed that there was blood on this vehicle?
That's on the exterior of the driver's door.
Is it right here?
Yes,
On the driver's side door?
that's correct.
I also want to show you, is this when the vehicle was taken in?
Yes,
Did you seal off the vehicle, Detective, when you got to the scene?
yes, I did.
And what is here in the driver's side of the vehicle?
On the driver's side, on the driver's seat of the vehicle, you have a few items, such as a set of keys, blood-stained money, a blood-stained cell phone, and I believe a blood-stained piece of paper, maybe a check.
Where was there also blood-stained money when you photographed in the alleyway? Where was also money?
There was also a blood-stained bill on the alleyway, pretty close to where the victim was located.
And were these the items that were located in the driver's side of the vehicle, Detective?
Excuse me. Yes, those are the items.
And this credit card, whose name is on it?
The victim, Pedro Jimenez Gonzalez.
I want to go back to this photo right here. Do we see what's on the passenger side?
Yes, that is a blue tank top.
Is that this same tank top that's here?
That's correct.
Would you say that that is a woman's tank top or a men's tank top?
Woman.
Hold on, stop. It's the same. She's gonna ask another question.
What about this type of clothing? Was that also found in the car?
Yes.
And based on your experience, Detective, do you know what clothes can be men clothes or women clothes?
Yes, I can.
What would you say these type of clothes are?
She actually calls her speculation.
It's the same. She's gonna ask another question.
Now, Detective, I want to go back to the blood trails for a moment. Did you have a chance to accurately and thoroughly review your report?
Yes, I did.
When you reviewed that report, Detective, did you document when the blood trails first started, where they first started?
Hold on.
Okay, detectives, about that. So the suspect blood trail, after you reviewed the report, where did the suspect blood trail first start?
The blood trail appeared to have first started in front of the residence. To explain, in front of the residence, there's another set of duplex. In front of that duplex and on a concrete walk path near a tree is where I first noticed the set of apparent blood.
And I'm now publishing what's been admitted to evidence at stage 18. Now, detective, when you say the front of the house, so is this the house, the defendant and victim's house?
Yes,
And when you say the front of the house, are you indicating somewhere in this area where this silver car is behind this tree?
yes,
So based on your report, was there a blood trail, suspect blood trail, right in front of the doorsteps of the victim and defendant's house?
no.
Moment to confer, Judge. Detective Zapata, was mail also found in the car when it was impounded?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
Was mail, a piece of mail, also found in the car when it was impounded?
Yes, that's correct.
If I were to show you that, would you recognize it?
Yes.
Judge, I now move into evidence based on stipulation by the parties what's been previously marked as states 1V.
State Exhibit 1V, marker identification, now becomes State Exhibit 19.
Permission to publish, Judge. Now, detective, is this the piece of mail you saw?
Yes.
Whose names are on the piece of mail? Permission to approach the witness, Judge.
The names are Pedro Jimenez and Daisy Blink.
And what address is there?
The address is 956 Northwest 4th Terrace.
No further questions, Judge.
In cross-examination for officers about that.
Yes, Your Honor, just a moment. Judge, before I start with her, by way of stipulation, I would ask that what's marked as Defense Exhibit A1 be admitted into evidence.
Defense Exhibit A1, marker identification, now becomes Defense Exhibit A.
So, ma'am, we spoke yesterday. I'm going to show you this again. I'm showing you what is already in evidence as State's Exhibit 6. Now, question, correct?
Yes,
And you are the person who drew this red line yesterday, is that correct?
I'm sorry, can you go back to the first question?
To the first question?
Yes, your first statement about the residence?
The home where Daisy Link lived.
Yes.
Is this the home?
Sorry.
Would it be easier?
Yes,
to-
sorry.
Okay. 1 minute.
Yes.
This is Daisy Link's home, right? What I'm pointing to right here.
If I'm not mistaken, this is still.
Oh, this one. Okay. So I'm gonna show this to you real quick. But, you see the line that you are the person who drew this red line, correct?
Yes.
And you would agree that it's a little hard to see because it's red, but right here, you drew a line that came all the way here, right to this area, which is where the front door of the residence would be. Is that correct?
I'm sorry. Yes, here.
Yeah, and you can see the little line going here, right?
Yes, there's a line there.
Yes. And, okay, I think I should move this to the one. So as we spoke yesterday, by way of reminder, there was some, you also drew a line over here, this area here, this area over here, but there was no blood in this specific area right here. Is that
Correct, that line was to show the alleyway.
Okay. The blood was on the other side, which is over here where all this is, right?
Yes, there was blood leading up to where the victim was found collapsed.
And as far as your investigation goes and what you were able to determine, the blood trail began in this area here, in this general area here where this line starts. Is that correct?
Further, I don't recall the direction, but further, because of the trees, you can't really see the concrete walk path, but it's more so towards the front where there's a tree. You can't really see it in the picture. So it's in front of the residence, not so in front, but in front of the residence and in front of the duplex, where you see the bushes, the trees, that's where the blood appeared to have started.
So, just to be clear, the blood trail appears to start near the front door of that residence.
No,
Okay, how far away from the front door of the residence is it?
I would say if I'm standing,
From me to you?
if I'm standing in front of the residence, approximately maybe 15 steps, maybe approximately.
Okay, so maybe a little bit less the distance between me and you right now?
I would say a little bit more, maybe.
15 steps is further away than I am from you?
I don't know, I'm giving you an approximate. I can stand up and walk toward and count.
Well, 15 steps, right?
Approximately, could be more.
Could be more, could be less too, right? You're not certain.
Correct.
So other than the items that other than the items that you discussed a few minutes ago, Mr. Jimenez's license and some other cards and wallet were found also, is that correct?
I would have to take a look at the photos.
Sure. Judge, if I may approach, I'm going to show you what's marked as Defense Exhibit 1. Does that appear to you to be the license of, well, actually 2 licenses of Mr. Jimenez? There's 3 pages there if you want to take a look.
Yes, it says his name on them.
And there's 2 of them, right?
Yes.
Do both those licenses have the same address?
Yes,
And what address is that?
956 Northwest Fort Terrace.
That's not the address where Daisy Link lived on the day in question, correct?
It is not the same address.
No further questions?
Yes, please.
Judge, permission to approach? Ms. Zapata, is the address that was listed on Mr. Jimenez's license to your left the same address that was listed on the mail that was found in the rental car to your right?
Yes, it is.
And does that mail also have Daisy Link's name on it?
Yes, it does.
And was this mail found in the car that Miss Link was driving the night the victim was shot?
That's correct.
Actually calls for speculation as to Ms. Link was driving the car that night.
Same. Want to re-ask the question?
Oh, yes, Judge. Is that the same car that was found on the scene next to the victim's body in the alleyway the night he was shot?
That is.
No further questions, Judge.
Please step out. The next witness will be, the next witness will be
Dr. Matthysse.
Dr. Matthysse.
You signed to our friend that testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Morning.
Sorry, just 5 seconds with your. To fix the projector, so let's see. Maybe so.
Your Honor, it's prepared.
Judge says.
The stipulation I'm going to read to you, there is a stipulation between the parties that the body autopsy under medical examiner case number 2022-1959 is the body of Pedro Jimenez. In other words, the legal identity of Pedro Jimenez has been established by stipulation of the parties. You can start questioning Dr. Matthysse.
Yes, Judge. Good morning. Can you please state your name for the record?
Good morning. I'm Dr. Benjamin Matthysse.
Mr. Matthysse, what do you do for a living?
I am the Chief Medical Examiner of the Miami-Dade County Medical Examiner Department.
And how long have you been the chief medical examiner?
10 days. Last week, they promoted me to chief medical examiner. I've been deputy chief for the prior 3 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you've been deputy chief for 13 years.
I've been at the medical examiner department for 13 years. The last 3 were deputy chief.
And can you tell the jury a little bit about your education and training in forensic pathology?
Sure. I went to Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island for my undergraduate degree in classics Latin. And then I stayed at Brown for medical school where I graduated with a Doctor of Medicine degree. Then I went to the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia for my residency in pathology, anatomic pathology and clinical pathology. After completing the residency, I came to Miami for a fellowship to subspecialize in the subspecialty of forensic pathology.
And are you board certified in forensic pathology?
I am.
About how many autopsies, Dr. Matthysse, have you performed over your career?
Around 2,000.
And have you previously come to court to testify as to the cause of death of an individual?
Yes.
About how many times have you done that?
Several dozen times. I usually come about 10 times a year. 10 times a year times the 12 years, 13 years I've been here.
And were you qualified as an expert on each of those occasions that you came to testify?
I have.
In what field were you qualified as an expert?
Forensic pathology.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, can you tell the jury what exactly a medical examiner does?
Sure. A medical examiner is a forensic pathologist who works for the government generally. And we're charged with investigating deaths of individuals who died either under circumstances or because of who they are that the state has an interest in. So all non-natural deaths will go to a medical examiner, accidents, suicides, potential homicides, drug overdoses, inmates from the prison, those who die in police custody. And then when we investigate their deaths, we need to determine the cause of death, what caused them to die, and the manner of death, which is how we classify their death. We'll perform whatever investigations or studies we need to do, whether it's a record review looking at their medical records, to performing a full autopsy, performing special dissections, having special tests run, studies done, also that we can determine what the cause and manner of death is.
And were you working as a medical examiner for Miami-Dade County on June 25th, 2022?
I was.
Are you the original medical examiner who did the actual autopsy on the victim, Pedro Jimenez?
Yes.
So I want to talk about your involvement in this case, Dr. Matthysse. When did you perform that autopsy?
June 26, 2022.
Where did you perform it?
At our office, it's a medical examiner department. It's right across the street from Ryder Trauma at Jackson Medical Center next to Miami-Dade College Health Campus.
And when the body arrived for autopsy, what was its general condition?
He was in a fresh state. He had soiling from blood staining on his legs.
And did you observe any signs of medical intervention, such as bandages, anything like that on the body?
Yes, he had a tourniquet on his right thigh.
Now, can you walk us through the steps you take when performing an autopsy, Dr. Matthysse?
Sure. So first, we capture the height and weight. We'll take a receiving photo of the individual. Then, if it's a suspected homicide, we'll get pictures of the hands. Then we'll collect fingernail clippings as evidence. The body will then be washed. We'll take photographs, overall photographs of the individual. And then if there are any tattoos or injuries, we'll take photographs of those. Once the photographs have been taken, then the doctor will take any written notes about the external appearances of the body, of the tattoos, of the injuries. And then at that point, an internal examination, or what people colloquially will call the autopsy, will begin to be performed.
So you mentioned a lot of steps there.
Yes.
So I want to break that down. Can you explain to the members of the jury what an external exam is?
Sure. So external exam sounds just like that. We're taking note of the external features of the body. First is the routine. Their body size, their body habitus, their height, their weight, their eye color, their hair color. And then we will, after all the call it regular stuff has been documented, then we'll turn toward tattoos and scars. And then then we'll move into injuries. If there are any external evidence of injuries, then we'll document those down as well.
So you mentioned that you document tattoos. Did the victim in this case have a lot of tattoos?
He did,
And was one of those tattoos the name Daisy?
yes.
Now, you also mentioned you start with external injuries, so I want to talk about those. What external injuries did you observe on the victim's body in this case?
Yes, so he had a through and through gunshot wound on his right thigh and a through and through gunshot wound on his left foot.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, you mentioned a through and through gunshot wound through the right thigh and left foot.
Yes.
So I want to break that down. I want to start with the left foot. Your Honor, I now move into evidence what has been previously marked as states 1W by stipulation of the parties.
State Exhibit 1W, marker identification now becomes State Exhibit 20.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, is this the victim's left foot?
It is.
Now, you mentioned that he had a through and through gunshot.
Yes. Can I come down? I don't have my glasses.
Can you show to the members of the jury where the entrance wound is on this foot?
It may be hard for you to see as well, but the entrance wound is on the bottom of the left heel.
And how do you know it's the entrance wound?
So, in general, entrance wounds are round. They can have a rim of abrasion. In this case, though, his skin is different than the rest of the skin on the body. Regular skin, a lot of it has hair. Foot skin, the plantar skin, the skin on the bottom of the foot, it's thicker, it's more elastic than the rest of the body. Anybody who's done a foot rub can attest to it or had to remove a splinter. So when a bullet goes through the skin of the sole of the foot, the plantar skin, the tissue is very elastic, so it will retract, allow the bullet to come in. So when you have an entrance wound on a foot, you're going to see more of a slit-like appearance. In this case, you can even see a halo where the bullet tunneled in, but the skin retracts after it, and it's just the nature of the skin on the bottom of the foot.
And in this picture, where is the exit wound?
The exit wound is on the Achilles tendon region on the back of the heel.
How do you know that's the exit wound?
Exit wounds are irregular. Oftentimes you can take them and push them together, the edges together. You can see that this has that kind of split-like irregularity to it, and that the pieces fit together like a puzzle.
And now, Dr. Matthysse, looking at the entrance and exit wound, can you determine the path the bullet took when it entered the foot?
Yeah, so since this is the entrance wound, that's where it's entered. It's what we call a perforating wound. So it's entering through the sole of the foot, the left heel, and it is going through the soft tissue and coming out the back of the heel region by the Achilles tendon region.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, you also mentioned that the foot is flat and it has tougher skin, is that right?
The sole of the foot, yes.
Would a person wearing a shoe, would that move the path of the bullet when it enters the person's foot?
Move the path of the bullet. So sometimes when you're wearing clothing or shoes, it can change the appearance of the entrance wound. It can add irregularity to it. It can also help us to confirm what we're seeing. So if you're looking at this or you're less experienced and you don't have a lot of experience looking at plantar wounds on the bottom of the foot, you can look at the clothing and you can, or the shoe, and you can interpret the directionality from the shoe or the clothing itself.
And what is this photo here?
That's a close-up of the exit wound on the back of the heel on the Achilles tendon.
I'm sorry, is it Achilles?
Achilles tendon region, the back of the heel.
And how do we know that's the exit wound?
It has all the features of an exit wound. So you can see the skin kind of fits back together with a puzzle piece. If I push the edges together, it has an irregular linear. It's kind of linear, but it's irregular. That makes the features of an exit wound.
And what about this photo?
That is a close-up of the entrance wound on the bottom of the foot.
And how do we know that?
Because of the way it looks. So, like I said, normally an entrance wound is going to be round, but because of where the location is on the sole of the foot and the nature of the skin down there, entrance wounds on plantar surface can look linear. The bullet just kind of separates the tissue, comes in, and the tissue collapses behind it.
Now I want to go back to, you mentioned shoes, and that can change the shape or irregularity of a wound. Was the victim in this case wearing shoes, do you know?
Yes,
Did you receive those shoes?
I did.
What kind of shoes were they?
They're like a boot, casual boot.
Judge, I now move into evidence what has been previously marked as states 1X. By stipulation of the parties, Judge.
State exhibit 1X marked for identification now becomes state exhibit 21.
Permission to publish, Judge?
Yes.
Dr. Matthysse, are these the shoes that you received from the victim, that were recovered from the victim's body?
Yes. They came with them.
And what are we looking at here with the white, where the white stick is pointing?
So there is a hole next to the white stick. This is the outer edge of the left heel region of the shoe. And then below it, we have red discoloration, which looks like blood to me. This is just a further out photograph, so you can see the entire shoe.
What's interesting about this picture, Dr. Matthysse?
So this is the back of the shoe, and if you recall the wound I kept referring to as on the Achilles tendon on the back of the foot, this correlates with it. This is where it came out from. So it came out of the skin, and then it came out of the shoe, creating this irregular defect here.
So that's where the exit wound came out of.
Yes.
And where was this, what part, is this the entrance or exit wound entry?
This is the entrance wound. You can see the fibers of the fabric or leather are pointing inward, and it's creating a defect. So that's consistent with entrance wound from clothing.
Now, you also mentioned that in this case, the victim had a wound to the left foot and a wound to the right thigh.
That's correct.
I want to talk about the wound to the right thigh. Judge, I now move into evidence what has been previously marked as 1Y by stipulation of the parties.
State exhibit 1Y marked for identification now becomes state exhibit 22, Judge.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, is this the wound on the right thigh?
Yes. So what you're looking at here is the victim lying on his belly on our autopsy table. So you're looking at the back of his lower extremities, the back of his leg. His buttock would be here, right above where the picture cuts off.
And is the wound to the right thigh, did it have both an entrance and exit wound?
It has both an entrance and an exit.
And this wound is the entrance?
Is the entrance.
How do we know that for the right thigh?
Because of the way it looks. Sorry. Because of the way it looks. We interpret gunshot wounds, entrance, exit, based on their morphology, the way they look. And this one, you can even see from this view, better close up, but you can see from this view, it's nice, and it has a roundness punched out appearance to it.
Now, what are we looking at now?
Now, this you're looking, he's lying on his back now. And, up here above, that would be the groin region and above, and I'm looking at from the top of the thighs down. And within the tattoo, there is a gunshot wound there.
Is this a better view of the front of the victim's thigh?
Yes.
And what exit wound is that?
That is the exit wound. That's on the front of the thigh. That's the exit wound. Same thing. Just a different orientation.
What about this picture?
So now we're back on the back of the thigh. This is an entrance wound. You can see it has a punched out appearance. You can see the yellow in the middle, that's the fat, the soft tissue underneath the skin. So that's missing, that's the Pedro gunshot. You can see it's got like this oval, it can be round, it can be oval, it can be elliptical, depending on the angle that they go in. Going around the wound. And then you see that there is what we call abrasion, some scraping of the tissue around the edges of the wound. These are all features of an entrance.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, for his right side, were you able to determine the path the bullet was taking?
Yes, so this is the entrance wound, it's on the back of the thigh, so it's going from back to front.
Is the way that the bullet entered with the back of his right thigh consistent with the victim facing his back to the person who shot him?
The back of the victim needs to be facing the barrel of the gun.
So yes.
Yes.
Would it be consistent if you were facing the person who shot him?
No, because the barrel of the gun has to be pointing toward the back of the thigh.
Now, Judge, I now move to evidence what has been previously marked as stage 1Z by stipulation of the parties.
Stay exhibit 1Z, marked identification, now becomes stay exhibit 23, Judge.
Judge, permission to publish?
Yes.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, what are we looking at here?
You are looking at the exhibit line flat on his back on the autopsy table, and I took hospice probes and ran them through, placed them through the pathways of the two gunshot.
So this is the wound to the foot.
Correct. And now it kind of makes more sense when you saw the shoe and how it looked on him. Harder to appreciate when you're just seeing the whole stuff. With the probe, it makes it easier to visualize.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, I want to take everything together, what you said. We spoke about the left foot, the path of the bullet. We spoke about the right thigh and the path of that. Judge, I now move into evidence what has been previously marked as 1K by stipulation of the parties.
Stay exhibit 1K, marked for identification, now becomes stay exhibit 24, Judge.
Judge, permission for
Yes.
the witness and myself to stand over here? Now, Dr. Matthysse, can you explain to the jury what this diagram is indicating?
Sure, so this diagram here in the middle is the notes I take during the autopsy. We call it a body diagram sheet, and that's where I'm marking down his hair color, our tattoos, and then I noted where the wounds were, what their size is.
And how did the bullet first enter the body?
How did the bullet first enter the body? So he has an entrance wound on the left foot. That's coming out the back of the left heel region, and he has an entrance wound on the right thigh in the back. That's coming out the front of the right thigh.
How is it possible that the way the bullet entered, how is it possible with that angle? How would the victim have had to have been standing for the bullet to enter the way it did?
From the bottom of the foot?
Yes.
So that's bottom of the foot. So to get an entrance wound on the bottom of the foot, the gun has to be under the foot. So if the foot is on the ground, it has to be, I guess, on the upper floor and coming through the ceiling, or the foot has to be in the air in order for it to get, go in. So since that scenario doesn't really make sense, the left foot needs to be up in the air in order for it to be facing the barrel of the gun.
Could that be consistent with if the victim was going to try to run, that his foot was up? Would that be consistent?
Yes.
Now, once the bullet enters the left foot and exit, where does it go?
So then it comes out the back of the left foot.
And then where does it go?
Then it's going to continue in the same trajectory along a straight line until it hits something else,
And then can you just,
or just drops to the ground.
and then for the thigh, can you talk about how when it left the foot and it enters the thigh, how that's possible?
So yes, so the same bullet can cause both wounds. It can go from the outer edge of the left foot, the left heel, to the back of the left heel region. And then the foot's up in the air, it can go into the back of the right thigh and out the front. So it goes through the foot and then through the back of the thigh and out the front.
And you're indicating that the record reflects that the witness had his left foot up and his front was facing the judge.
Right, so your right leg has to be forward, your left foot is up, and you could create that pathway.
And your back has to be facing the person who's shooting.
Yes, the back of the foot, yes, but that's where it has to come inside.
Now, Dr. Matthysse, looking at the wound tracks, is it possible that a single projectile did this?
Yes, in the way that I just described.
And okay, we're good. Now I want to talk about the internal examination. Did you perform an internal examination?
I did.
Okay. And what internal damage did you observe as a result of the gunshot wounds?
So inside the body, his organs, those were all good. I had to do a special dissection on his right thigh to document the injuries going on within the soft tissue. And he had a lot of blood and bleeding in the muscles of his right thigh, in the region of that gunshot wound. And he had holes in his femoral artery and femoral vein.
You mentioned he had holes in his femoral artery and vein. Did the bullet strike or sever those major arteries?
Yes, the bullet struck those arteries.
And now, Dr. Matthysse, based on your expertise and experience, would an injury to the femoral artery, such as a gunshot wound, cause rapid or severe blood loss to someone?
It will cause severe blood loss. The blood comes from the heart, is pumping. The femoral artery comes off after the aorta branches into the iliacs. The femoral artery is one of the branches that comes off the iliac artery, and it supplies blood flow to the rest of the leg. So it's a very important blood vessel, and it will bleed, and you will lose a lot of blood from it.
And are you able to estimate about how quickly a person can lose consciousness or die from such bleeding?
So when we're talking about a femoral artery, it will take longer than, say, if you have a hole in your aorta or a hole in your lung or a hole in your heart. It's a bit downstream. So it can take several minutes, and then there are things that can mitigate it. If you're applying pressure, or if for some reason the muscle tissue is compressed around the wound, anything that's going to apply pressure to that area can slow down the bleeding.
Now, you also mentioned that several things can mitigate that. Let's say, Dr. Matthysse, that there was no mitigation. There was no covering or trying to prevent the blood loss. If pressure is not being applied correctly, how fast would the victim take to die from this type of wound?
It can still take several minutes.
And is based on your knowledge, was that consistent with what happened to the victim in this case?
I don't think there was a long survivability period, but I wasn't aware of that at the time of the autopsy. For us, it didn't matter, but it will take. It's not going to be that you're shot and you suddenly collapse. There is a time period where it will take for the blood to come out of the body, reduce the blood volume so that the heart no longer has enough blood to pump up to the brain to give it the oxygen it needs.
And how is it that the blood is going to come out the body? Is it going to come out rapidly? Is it going to splatter a lot?
Yes, so you have both an arterial bleed and a venous bleed. So the vein is returning blood from the bottom of the foot. That's a low pressure system. It will ooze or it'll accumulate in the muscular tissue. The artery, on the other hand, each time the heart pumps, blood is going to be spurting out of that artery. If that artery has a clear path out the hole, the exit hole, then you will get blood coming out of that hole, and that's where you see, like in the movies, the arterial spread. If there's not a clear pathway from the hole in the artery because it's blocked by muscle or tissue, then it'll continue to spurt, but it'll come out, it may not come out as a spurt out of the hole when it leaks. It may accumulate in the tissues and then dribble out.
Now I want to talk about toxicology. Was a toxicology test performed on the victim?
Yes.
And what were the results of that test, Dr. Matthysse?
I'm just referencing the toxicology report. So in him was detected ethanol, which is beverage alcohol like you'd find in vodka or tequila. He had cocaine. He had metabolites of cocaine, the breakdown products, and he had THC, which is the active ingredient in marijuana.
And how much cocaine was detected in his blood?
He had, according to the report, 0.274 milligrams per liter.
Would you say that's a lot of cocaine, Dr. Matthysse, a little bit of cocaine?
It's a healthy amount of cocaine.
And now, based on your experience, Dr. Matthysse, what is it that cocaine does to the body or blood?
So cocaine is a stimulant. So it causes your heart to increase. It will increase your blood pressure. It narrows the blood vessels. That's how it increases the blood pressure. And like I said, makes your heart race. It keeps you, it's an upper.
Based on your exam, Dr. Matthysse, did the cocaine contribute to the victim's death?
No,
Why do you say that?
because he's got a gunshot wound that went through his femoral artery and he's bleeding out, dying from hemorrhagic shock.
Did any of the substances that he had in his blood system contribute to his death?
No.
So I want to talk about the cause and manner of death. Based on your examination, were you able to determine the cause of death?
Yes.
What was it?
That was the gunshot wound of the right thigh.
So how long would it have been, Dr. Matthysse, based on your training and experience, it would take someone to bleed out or die from that injury?
Like you said, it can take several minutes.
Were you able to determine the manner of death?
Yes.
What was the manner of death?
Homicide.
Moment to confer, Judge. Dr. Matthysse, now I want to go back to the external injuries you observed.
Yes.
If the victim was running away, I'm doing this.
Yes.
He's running with his left foot up. If he's doing this, is that consistent with what the shot that you observed, the wounds you observed on his body?
If he's in a running position, yes. The left foot has to be in the air and the right foot has to be forward.
So if he's running away, that's consistent.
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want to talk about ricocheting. Is it possible that the person who shot the victim shot into the ground and that it went through his left foot and out through his left thigh. Is that possible what you saw here?
I find that extremely unlikely. So when you have a ricochet, when you first fire the weapon, it has all the energy in it. That's why it can make characteristic appearances of gunshot wounds. In this case, the bullet not only went through the shoe, the boot, twice, went in and went out, went through the foot, went through the thigh, in, and came out. That takes a lot of energy. So ricochet's, one, not going to be able to do that, and two, the wound on the back of the thigh would have had to have, if it managed to even get out of the left shoe, which I find very unlikely, that you would have a ricochet that actually can go through the shoe, go through the foot, come out the shoe. When it hits that right thigh, it's not going to have that nice oval wound that you saw. So I can't see this being a ricochet, no.
Now I want to talk about, again, the arteries that were damaged. Is a time delay in the time from the time that the victim was shot, if there was a time delay in calling 911 or having assistance, would that also likely contribute to his death?
So when you have a wound like that, those are devastating injuries that require immediate medical attention. The wound needs to the blood flow needs to be stopped. Basically, you need to put a tourniquet tight around the wound to stop the blood flow into the leg. And then, of course, you're on a clock because the leg's not getting the nutrients it needs, and you would have to amputate. But a femoral artery wound is a devastating injury. So yes, if you don't receive medical attention, you will die quicker.
So if there was a delay in calling 911 or getting assistance or putting a tourniquet on the victim, that's going to speed up the time he dies.
Yes.
Now I want to talk about the drugs in his system.
Yes.
I know you mentioned earlier that those didn't contribute to his death.
Correct.
Would you say, doctor, based on your training and experience, that the drugs slowed down the amount of time it took him to die?
So there are some people who would say, okay, cocaine is a stimulant. So a lot of times when people get shot, they get an adrenaline rush. They may not even feel that they were shot till they look down and they see that they are bleeding. That adrenaline rush, adrenaline is also a stimulant, also causes the heart to beat faster and the blood vessels to constrict, which will increase your pressure. So cocaine as a stimulant could, in fact, actually help the situation because it's causing the blood vessels to be more constricted than they ordinarily would be, which is going to increase his blood pressure, which could theoretically increase his survivability period. But you still have a big hole in your femoral artery, so.
Thank you. Want me to confer, Judge? Yes. No further questions, Judge.
Morning, doctor.
Good morning.
Not to state the obvious, but just to be absolutely clear, we've got 2 entrance wounds and 2 exit wounds on this gentleman.
Correct.
But this is all from 1 bullet, 1 shot, correct?
It's consistent with that. So if the circumstances indicate that there's 1 bullet, 1 firing, this is the most reasonable way it happened.
There's nothing that you're aware of that would suggest to you or indicate to you that there was more than 1 shot in this particular instance, correct?
Right. Look, I have 2 through and through wounds. So could they have occurred through 2 separate shots? If that's what the scene and the circumstances supported, I'm not going to be able to refute you on that. But my understanding is if there's 1 shot, that there's 1 shot, 1 bullet fired, this is how it would occur.
So what we're talking about here is a bullet that went in through this man's heel, came out of another part of his foot, and then went into his leg and came out of another part of his leg. Is that correct?
Yes, the right thigh and then out the front of the right thigh.
How many autopsies have you done?
almost, probably is, 2000.
As best you can recollect, have you ever observed or do you have any knowledge of a single gunshot wound taking that particular trajectory?
I've had single gunshot wounds go through both legs. I've had them go through the arm and the chest, through a foot and then the leg, a foot and then the opposite thigh. One does not come to mind.
You would agree that this is a highly unusual trajectory for one bullet, correct?
I wouldn't say unusual. It makes sense. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's unusual. I would say it's not a pathway we encounter every day.
Okay. Now, when someone has an injury like this man had and aid is being rendered, am I correct that one of the first things you want to do is put a tourniquet on the person's leg?
Yes, you want to mitigate the blood loss. So that's going to be pressure, tourniquet, stop the blood flow from stop the blood flow above the level of the injury.
And that was done in this case, correct? That was administered?
There, he came in with a tourniquet on, so at some point one was placed on him.
Now, the amount of cocaine that this man had in his system, you testified earlier that it's not part of the cause of death, correct?
That's correct.
However, that amount, it is a potentially lethal amount, is it not?
Any amount of cocaine is technically potentially lethal.
But this amount, this isn't just any amount, this is a
goodly amount, yes.
okay.
A goodly amount. It's not just a small amount. It's consistent with recreational use. It's not like somebody you see like a body packer or anything like that. But it's not just, sometimes we'll see people, regular cocaine users, and they're probably coming down and they have just a tiny little bit of cocaine coming along for the ride. He's using, yes.
So this is, we're in Miami, there's cocaine in Miami. But this is not just, like you said, not a little bit, this is a rather significant amount of cocaine that this man took, right?
This is recreational use of cocaine. It's not, like I said, it's not the little bit we see with somebody that's coming down. They're in the active phase of using.
Now, am I correct that that when somebody's using cocaine and they use other substances, particularly alcohol, that increases the toxicity of cocaine, correct?
It can, yes.
Okay. That combination, cocaine and alcohol, it produces a metabolite called cocaethylene, correct?
That's correct.
And in your autopsy, you tested for cocaethylene, correct?
Yes.
And he had 0.150 milligrams per liter of cocaethylene in his blood, correct?
Yes.
And when looking at the alcohol, he had 0.108 blood alcohol level, is that correct?
0.108 in the ocular fluid, 0.107 in the blood.
So if he had been operating a motor vehicle, he would have been driving under the influence.
Correct.
Because the legal limit in this state is 0.08.
That's correct.
Right, so he had this very high amount of cocaine in his blood, along with this amount of alcohol in his blood, which would have been enough to trigger a DUI had he been driving.
Objection, President calls for legal conclusion.
Yes.
And he also smoked some weed too, correct?
At some point he used marijuana. I cannot tell you how he used it, and I cannot tell you when.
Now, doctor, you were asked about whether or not some of these substances delay or could affect how long it takes somebody to bleed out. Can you explain that a little bit more, please?
Yes, so just as I explained before, cocaine is a stimulant, and it, just like the adrenaline rush that will occur when somebody gets an injury, it will increase your blood pressure through constricting your arteries, and it will cause your heart to beat faster.
Now, when someone's shot, do you expect them to necessarily start bleeding out right away, or does it take a few moments before blood starts coming out of somebody's body? I mean, usually.
When they're shot, they'll start bleeding right away. You may not see it on the outside of the body, but trust me, they're bleeding somewhere. So they get shot in the chest. They are bleeding into whatever space is around them. So in the chest, you have a lot of space for the lungs to expand. They're going to bleed into the chest wall. You get shot in the leg, you're going to be bleeding into the muscles, the soft tissues there. Only when the body is in a position where the hole that leads to the outside is lined up with where the blood is, will it come out. So oftentimes we'll get to a scene of murder. They've got a bunch of holes in their chest. There's not really that much blood out. When we start to move the body and we've tipped it, then blood will start coming out of the holes.
So it might take a little bit of time before you start seeing blood dripping and landing on the floor from somebody who's been shot.
Correct. It just depends how the hole lines up with where the blood is accumulating.
So if somebody's walking or running or in any type of movement, they get shot, but they're moving, you might not start to see a blood trail until they've taken a few steps, correct?
Correct.
Now, so you were asked about whether certain things are consistent with your findings. I want to give you a scenario, and you can tell me if it's consistent with
Sure.
what you found. Okay?
Yep.
So let's assume that we have somebody who is very high on cocaine and alcohol and THC. And that person is running around stalking somebody outside their home. Okay?
Yes.
That person is told to leave. They don't leave. At some point, there's a confrontation, and the person is asked again to leave. The person screams and says, "I want to die, I'm ready to die." And then they run towards a house with the intention of breaking into that house, which they have no right to be in. And a person fires a shot in that person's general direction for the sole purpose of getting that person to leave, which they have thus far refused to leave. Are you with me so far?
Yes.
Objection, evading the province of the jury. He hasn't finished asking his questions. Let me hear the rest of the question.
Fires a gunshot for the purpose of getting that person to leave, which that person has refused to leave up until that point. Once that gunshot is fired, that person starts to leave. You would not expect that person to immediately bleed onto the ground and show where that person was standing at the time he was shot. Is that correct?
He could be bleeding at that time, or he could start to bleed later. I can't tell you one way or the other.
So if blood droplets are found, say, 15 steps away from a front door, give or take, 15 steps away from that front door, would that, or could that be consistent with somebody running away from that front door after being shot?
So you have the front there shot. Are you telling me where the person was shot, or?
So the person's running towards the front door with the intent of breaking into this house, which they've been...
Objection, legal conclusion. Evading the province of the jury. Overruled. If you can answer the hypothetical, you'll do so. If you can't,
Correct.
go ahead, I didn't hear the end.
The person was told, leave. I don't want you here. You're not welcome here. Get out.
Okay.
I'm not getting out. You're going to have to kill me. Runs towards the door. Shot is fired for the purpose of getting that person to leave. Shot hits. So let me just ask you again.
Yes, please.
This man is whacked out of his mind on cocaine, alcohol, marijuana. He's been asked to leave. He refuses to leave. He's in a heightened state, very aggressive. Screams, I'm ready to die. I want to die. It's not leaving. It's not welcome in the house. It doesn't have permission to be in the house. Has no license or has no authority, no right to be in that house. He's going to that house, running towards that door. Shots fired for the purpose of getting him to leave, which he has already refused multiple times to do so. Shot goes into his body. Once that happens, he's not going to the house anymore, he's running away. He takes about 15 steps running away from the house, give or take, 15 steps before blood starts to drip out and hit the ground. Is that consistent with what you've seen here, with the wounds in this case? Could that have happened?
So you're asking if could he have been shot while still inside the house before leaving?
He didn't get inside the house. He
Okay.
was running towards the front door, is shot, and now the shot is what caused him to abandon his attempt to go into that house.
Okay.
So now he's running away from the house.
Okay.
And he makes it about 15 steps, give or take, 15 steps away from the house before you start seeing a trail of blood on the ground.
Okay.
Is that consistent with this? Does that make sense?
It can happen that way, yes.
Okay.
Like I said, he could start bleeding immediately or it could take several steps to begin to start bleeding.
So the scenario that I just laid out for you, this is not a wildly impossible or unlikely or ridiculous scenario. This is consistent with what you've seen, correct?
Yeah, it's one way it could happen. I can't tell you for sure that he didn't start bleeding for 15 steps. I also can't tell you for sure, he would have started bleeding immediately.
And nobody knows for sure except for the people who would have been there, right?
Correct.
Thank you, Doctor.
Dr. Matthysse, you were asked on cross-examination about if a tourniquet was placed on the victim, it would help slow down the bleeding.
If placed tight enough, yes.
You don't know when a tourniquet was placed on the victim in this case, do you?
No.
So if there was a delay in when the tourniquet was placed, would that slow down the bleeding or cause him not to die?
The delay in the tourniquet, he'll be bleeding the entire time until a tourniquet is put on, tightly. So anytime up until that tourniquet is put on, the pressure's not being applied, the wound's going to be bleeding. You may not be able to see it on the outside, but it'll be bleeding on the inside.
So if a person waits 10 minutes to call 911 and the officers then take some time to get there after, would that contribute to the victim's death as well?
Yes, yes.
Now you were asked about the blood coming out, and they're coming out of holes, and it may not bleed at that time, or it may. If a person is running away, would the blood start coming out?
It should, because now you're moving the leg, you're advancing it forward, you're causing manipulation, just like I told you. When we start flipping the body, the blood starts pouring out of the hole. So as you're moving, the blood you should start leaving a blood trail.
You're also asked about hypotheticals, so I want to pose one to you. If a person goes outside, they're on the steps, they pick up a gun, they point it at the victim sees the gun, in fear for his life, turns around and runs away, and that person shoots. Is that consistent with what we have here today?
Can you repeat your question?
Yes. A person picks up a gun, aims it at the victim in fear for his life, turns around, runs away, and the person shoots the victim, is that consistent with what we have here today?
Yes, it could happen that way.
Thank you, Judge. No further questions.
Judge, we agree, cross on that question.
Yep.
Judge, I would ask them to go sidebar.
I haven't heard anything yet, so not at this time. Go ahead.
You were asked about a victim who's in fear for his life, running away, right?
Yes.
That's the question she just asked. Would you expect somebody who's in fear of their life to say, "I'm ready to die"?
Objection, Judge. Speculation, may be province of the jury.
Can you answer that question?
I can't.
Okay, so.
Thank you.
I can't.
Can you please step down?
All right, thank you.
Bathroom, yeah, let's go real quick to the bathroom, please. Ready? You guys can self-govern while we're in there.
Nothing but the truth? I do.
It's on. I think it's 16. Yeah, 16. Yeah. Good afternoon. Can you please introduce yourself to the members of the jury?
Yes, my name is Sergio Carmesini,
And where do you work?
the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office,
And what's your title there?
a sergeant at the moment.
How long have you worked at the sheriff's office? Thank you.
I was hired September 16 of 2013,
What unit do you work in currently?
the Homicide Bureau.
And do you have any training or experience on cell phone extractions?
Yes, I do.
Can you please tell the members of the jury what that is, your training and experience there?
Sure. So within my current role within the Homicide Bureau, I'm the supervisor of a specialized unit within the Homicide Bureau. And within that unit, myself as well as some of the detectives that are assigned to me, we've attended various trainings in the areas of digital forensics, specifically cell phones, as well as just general cellular records as well.
And in order to work in that unit, do you have to go through that training?
Yes, in order to conduct the work that we do, there are prerequisite and required trainings.
And I think you already said this already, but specialized training specifically for cell phone extraction, that's something that you have to do?
Yes, so there's a few different trainings in regards to actually conducting the cell phone extractions that I've taken, specifically by a company called Cellbrite, which is the primary, one of the primary softwares that are utilized in conducting these extractions. And with those trainings, they're broken up into a few different areas, but primarily in the actual extracting or downloading the data from a cell phone or an electronic device, and then processing that data that's downloaded as well.
Okay, and generally speaking, how do cases get assigned?
Are you asking in the context of myself or in just a case in
cell phone
general?
extraction, I'm sorry.
So in the case of, or in the circumstance of a cell phone extraction, it could be as simple as the detective, whoever it may be, just picking up the phone and calling and just informing us of whatever assistance they may need.
Okay, and generally speaking, is this, let's say a detective calls you up and says, "Hey, Sergeant, I want you to extract the phone," or is it randomly assigned?
So within my unit specifically, it's myself and a detective, one other detective that I supervise that has the training and the equipment to conduct that. So within my unit, the phone call would ultimately end with either myself or that other detective.
Okay. Now, were you involved in a case PD 220625210513?
Yes, I was.
How did you get involved in that case?
So in that case, in this case, I was provided ultimately with 2 cellular telephones to attempt to conduct forensic extractions.
Who provided those to you?
The relevant telephone is from a detective, Daniel Morales.
Now you said relevant phone. What are you talking about there?
So of the 2 phones that were provided, one of the phones I was able to obtain a full extraction from due to the password being provided. The other phone was an iPhone that was password protected, and the password was not known. And due to the state of the phone, an extraction was not able to be conducted on that other device.
Now, I want to talk about that for a moment. Did you attempt to extract that cell phone?
Yes, I did.
Were you ever able to extract any data from that cell phone?
No.
Okay. Were you ever provided a password to that cell phone?
I was, but it was unsuccessful.
Okay. Now, when that detective got you the phone or gave you possession of that phone, was that with a warrant or did you just unlock it yourself?
No, it was the device with the accompanying property receipt as well as the search warrant.
Now, how do you identify a phone that you are going to extract?
Well, depending on how it's provided, but typically in an instance where a search warrant is provided, it would be whatever is identifying features are explained in the search warrant, and that then in conducting a physical review of the device to ensure that it's the correct device that accompanies the legal process.
Now, after you confirm that you have the correct phone, what do you do, if anything?
So typically you take that device and you just do a visual of it, ensure that it's working, that it's powered on, and then from there take it to a specialized equipment and then begin the extraction of that device.
Okay. Can you explain to the members of the jury what a Faraday room or Faraday box is?
Yes. So pretty much think of it as a large room that any signal cannot get into. So if you were to take your phone inside, it would be completely shielded from any Wi-Fi, any cellular, or any sort of connection that could communicate with the phone. So it isolates it completely from any sort of outside signal.
Okay. And generally speaking, does data change on the phone?
It can, yes.
Okay. How does it change, or is there anything to stop it from changing?
So with any cell phone, there's always going to be things that change on the phone just by the way that phones work. There's always things happening in the background. There's always applications that are open, and there's always things that are continually evolving. That doesn't mean that the files themselves change, but there are additional files and additional logs and records that occur just with the phone being on.
Now, I know that we talked about this briefly, but once you plug a phone into a computer, what happens with that? Do you download the phone? How do you go about that? Is there a program?
Yes, so in this case, I utilized a piece of equipment manufactured by a company called Graykey. And with that, after unlocking the phone and connecting it to the equipment, it downloads a full extraction of the entire file contents within a phone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So essentially, you can think of a phone as a library and the contents being the individual sections. So that equipment takes and it stores and copies all of the contents that are on that phone.
Once a phone is actually extracted, do you do anything to verify the data that was on the phone that you properly extracted it?
Yes. So upon all of the data being downloaded, there is a process that's called a generating of a hash. And a hash is pretty much consider a digital fingerprint that can be run or compared against any file. And if just one bit of information, the most minute thing changes, there's going to be a different value that's generated. So that's a way that once that extraction is complete, the state of the extraction and the data that was downloaded can be verified that it is the same and that is continuously the same and does not change.
Okay. Let's talk specifically about when you first extracted this phone. Did you do that and confirm that the data that was extracted was the same data that was on that phone?
So the hash initially is generated automatically in the process of extracting the phone. And then when I take that data and upload it to a second software, which actually interprets the data, the data, a hash is generated again and compared to the initial one, verifying that that it is in fact the same data and that what was utilized to generate a report is from the same contents.
Okay. And once that phone actually is extracted, what do you do with that data? Do you give to somebody? Do you keep it yourself?
Yes, so after uploading it into secondary software that actually takes that file from the phone and turns it into something that you can read, I generate a report and provide that over to the detective to review the contents.
And did you do that in this case?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Judge, permission to retrieve evidence and permission to publish? Thank you. Detective, I do not know if you can see how my screen here, because it's a little small, but can you tell us what we're actually looking at right here?
So this is what's going to be called a Cellbrite reader, and this is it's the end product, so to speak, of what the extraction and the data contained within the phone ultimately, how it ultimately appears.
Now, you mentioned a moment ago that there was a phone that was provided to you by Detective Danny Morales. Is that this data?
Yes, so the case number, there's going to be a case number there at the top left, and that's going to be the digital forensics unit case number that was assigned for the extraction of that specific device.
I want to show you a few specific points from this phone.
You need to step down and step down.
Thank you, Judge.
So, Detective, yeah, if you actually, can you just tell us right here what the date and time that this, where it says created?
Hold on a second, maybe you need to reposition yourself and reposition yourself.
So for this particular file, June 25th, 2022, 3:06 a.m.
Okay, and we see that this video is how long?
6 minutes and 57 seconds.
And we
I'm
see,
sorry, I hate to interrupt. Is this in evidence?
yes,
Do you have to mark it?
it's already in evidence. It's been moved yesterday.
Oh, what number was it?
16.
16. Okay, so remember, folks, this is in evidence. So if you need to look at it in the future as you deliberate, it is accessible to you. Go ahead.
So we see how long is this video?
6 minutes and 57 seconds.
And if you could tell me what the timestamp is right here.
It's at the 6 minute and 7 second mark.
And we see an individual right here. So at 6 minutes, 7 seconds after 3:06, can you generally tell us what time that is?
Right about 3:12, 3:13 a.m.
So this video would have been created, or this portion of this video would have been about 3:12, 3:13, you said?
Yes.
Let me just publish this video. Can you tell us the date and time that this video was created?
June 24th, 2022 at 10:37.
And we see a vehicle and 2 individuals?
Yes.
Okay, and this would have been earlier in that evening?
Yes, the previous day.
Let me publish this video now. 306 video that we saw, this was earlier in that evening as well?
Yes.
So I want to go back and actually look at a few more things here. Let me open up the prologue. Detective, I want to bring your attention to these two items under 13 and 14. Can you tell us number 14 what it says?
It's going to be an outgoing call, marked or dial to 9911.
And can you tell us the date and timestamp there?
June 25th, 2022 at 3:21 and a couple seconds a.m. in the morning.
And right above it, number 13, can you tell us what that call is?
So same, just 1 9 less, and it's also going to be an outgoing call.
So it's fair to say that's a call to 911 emergency services.
Yes.
And the date and time on that?
June 25th, 2022, 3:21 a.m. Almost 3:22.
The first video that we saw, that first timestamp was at 3:06 a.m. and it was 6 minutes long, give or take.
Yes.
And you testified earlier that that means with that timestamp of when we saw an individual walking in front, that was about 3:11, 3:12, 13. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And obviously 3:21 is a 10-minute delay.
About.
Let me move on here, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of this video where it says social media. Can you just tell the members of the jury what these two things are right here?
So the first one would be Facebook, and it would be usage of just the Facebook application, and then go to TikTok, another social media application.
Sorry, Facebook and TikTok are social media at that?
Yes.
Let me ask you about Instagram. Is Instagram also a social media account?
Yes, Instagram actually is currently owned by Facebook.
Okay, if you could tell us what we're looking at right here.
So this is going to be within the user accounts section of the phone extraction, where it's going to categorize, just generally speaking, any accounts that were on the phone. Not limited just to social media, but any email accounts, social media accounts, things like that are going to be categorized in this section. And this one specifically is a Instagram account that had been utilized on this cell phone.
Okay, and this, excuse me, this Instagram account would have been utilized on this phone?
Yes.
Meaning that this is this person's Instagram account?
I'm sorry, ask it again?
This Instagram account would be belonging to this phone or have been accessed by this phone?
Yes, this is indicative of that account having been utilized on that specific device.
And if you could just publish the members of the jury that right there.
Daisy Link.
Great, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Let's see if there's any process out.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Your excuse. Thank you. All right, folks, we'll go ahead and take our lunch break now. Let's come back so that we're ready to start right at 2 o'clock. So I'm giving you an hour and 15 minutes to plan to eat and also travel time. There should be less foot traffic in the building today. We don't have more reserve policy on Fridays. These are my instructions about ignoring the parties as well as the sleep, if you bump into them in the hallways, etc. Please don't talk about this case among yourselves, and please do not do any research about this case. If you become aware of any violations to the orders that I remind everyone every day, please bring it to my attention as well as my daily work. he will take your notes, just like he's been doing all week, and he'll tell you where to meet him so that we can reconvene and start talking at 2 o'clock.
Third floor, please. All rise for the jury.
All right, jury has left. What Francine just testified to, the jury can't take it back with them, right?
Well, so this is her phone. What we can do is Mr. Tomas and I can sit down and agree on certain items to put into a demonstrative to send back to the jury. Because obviously there are stuff on this phone that cannot go back. It will obviously be dependent on cross-examination and rebuttal, because there are text messages I intend to publish to the jury from this phone on cross and potentially rebuttal as well. But we can sit down and come to
Okay, cross that bridge, once you get there, you guys don't do that if that's not possible. They just ask to see certain items and then we just publish.
Yeah.
In open court.
Yeah.
Alright, should we come back in about 45 minutes? I'll give everyone a 45-minute lunch break. We'll come back at 1:30 and then we'll go over the statement. Does that work?
We just received it. If you could tell me when.
Yes, Your Honor, it's an hour, 32 minutes, and 26 seconds.
So we should be able to rest today.
Alright, fair enough. I just wanna make sure that you show the areas that are agreed upon for the redactions, the areas that are not agreed upon for the redactions at 1:30 when we come back. I can give you my ruling.
Sure.
But it seems like it's 90–95% of them, the parties are agreeing, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And,
I actually don't think there are any disagreements. I'm sorry.
we're not gonna be using any, written transcripts for them to follow along.
No, unfortunately, as I mentioned to the court in an email yesterday, Mr. Tomas, the vendor, for whatever reason, did not provide a full transcript. The only thing that we were able to do was generate an AI transcript.
Yeah, look, it is what it is. I think at the end of the day, unless it's an agreed upon official transcript, they always rely on the evidence that they're viewing, right?
Yes.
That's the default instruction. So, okay. Mr. Tomas, unless you agree that this AI generated one can be used as demonstrative, they shall rely on their memory. I'm sorry, or if they, if you want, we can show them these, the AI generated, transcript. If you agree it can be used as an aid, I'll let you tell me that at 1:30.
Your Honor, one of the issues I'd like to raise with that is that that doesn't have the appropriate redactions to match up
Oh, I
with the
see.
video.
All right, then forget that idea. All right, so we'll just look at the video, and, so we'll come back at 1:30, okay? Actually, why don't we do this? We'll come back at 1:35, so everyone can have the full 45 minutes. 1:35. My meeting's still open?
135? Or
Yeah,
45?
1:35.
135, all right.
1:35, sorry. Okay, offer.